Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a very good topic to talk about. We are going to be breaking down metabolic adaptation, aka a damaged metabolism or a broken metabolism or a slow metabolism. These are all phrases that I hear my patients and clients say all the time, and I feel like it's sometimes a little bit misunderstood. So I really want to break it down today, talk about how metabolic adaptation occurs and what you can do if you do have that you're struggling with. As a reminder, this video is not a substitute for medical advice. If you do have any questions or concerns about your weight or other areas of your health, please reach out to your healthcare provider or registered dietitian. All right, let's get into it. So I want to first start by defining what a damaged metabolism or a slow metabolism is. And you may have heard the word starvation mode, which people often refer to as a situation where they've been dieting for a long time, and so they're eating way too few calories and their body just isn't using those efficiently. Now, this is a real thing, but the word or the phrase starvation mode is it's not really the right way to describe it. The term that I like to use is metabolic adaptation. So, metabolic adaptation is a very normal and natural response that our body has when we are not eating enough food. Our body doesn't like to feel starved, and that's what it thinks is happening when you are dieting. And so that's the response that happens where our metabolism slows down. And this occurs so that our body can use those calories more efficiently and it can use less calories to survive. So it stretches out the function of each calorie and makes it way more efficient. And so then we need less calories, and that is where we start to gain weight if we do start to eat more calories than what our metabolism or our body thinks that it needs. Chronic dieting is usually one of the biggest causes of this, and that is just constant restriction in our calories that our body views as starvation, or it thinks that, you're some kind of hunter-gatherer. It just doesn't quite know what's going on, and so that's where our metabolism slows down, tries to make each calorie more efficient. So how you may know you have metabolic adaptation is if you have a very, very active lifestyle, including a lot of intense exercise. I'm talking like a lot of HIIT workouts, Orange Theory, boot camp style things. Our body views that as stress. We'll get to hormones in a minute, but when our body is in constant stress, it has a very hard time, allowing the body to lose weight. It's holding on to all the weight that it's got because it's not quite sure what the stress is coming from. Is it because you're starving in a desert, or is it because you're just doing a lot of Orange Theory workouts? So you may also know you have metabolic adaptation if you eat very few calories. You guys may have heard the 1,200 calories is the needs of a toddler. And for most people, that's true. A lot of us, or most people, do need more than 1,200 calories. There's this thing called BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, which is how many calories your body needs just to perform functions such as breathing, digesting your food, giving your brain power to think and understand this video that you're watching right now. And if we eat too few calories, not enough to even meet our BMR, that is when our metabolism starts to adapt. And then the third way that you may know you have metabolic adaptations is if you have very drastic weight fluctuations. You may have heard of the set point theory before, which is the concept that our bodies have a comfortable weight they like to sit at. And this could be a range. Like, for example, on an individual, it could be anywhere from 135 to 155 pounds. Or for someone else, it might be a very smaller range, like 130 to 140 pounds. It just really depends on the individual, and a lot of factors play into this set point range. But our set point weight or set point range is predetermined, and our body's going to fight to get into this range. And so if your metabolism has adapted due to chronic dieting, intense exercise, that's when you may start to notice those really large fluctuations in your weight, because your body is just trying to get back to the place that it wants to be. It's just trying to adapt. All right, I want to break down a little bit more kind of what happens when we lose weight and how this is causing metabolic adaptation. So, it really has a lot to do with our hormones, and this is why weight loss can be so difficult to maintain because, again, our hormones are always trying to keep us safe, keep us in homeostasis, and if we are just chronically dieting, that can really take a toll on our bodies. So, what happens when we lose weight is leptin starts to decrease. Leptin is a hormone that is stored in our fat cells, and it is the hormone that tells us when we're starting to feel full. So, when that starts to decrease, we start to not quite recognize our fullness as well. And that is why when you're losing weight, you may feel like you're pretty hungry all the time. And this is why weight loss can be difficult to maintain as well. At the same time that leptin is decreasing, ghrelin is increasing, and ghrelin is our hunger hormone. So what's happening is as our fat cells start to decrease where leptin is stored, we are not feeling as full, our appetite is increasing, and that makes us want to eat more, which can then lead to the weight coming back on. What can also happen at this time is cortisol levels can increase as well. You guys may have heard of cortisol before, referred to as the stress hormone. And cortisol increases in the presence of that increased intense exercise or in that drastic calorie reduction. And what can happen when our cortisol is increasing is we can start to have insulin resistance. So this insulin resistance can make it difficult for our blood sugars to be well regulated, and this can lead to us feeling more hungry as well as that increased ghrelin and decreased leptin. When we are experiencing insulin resistance, our pancreas, which produces insulin, will be pushing out more of it to kind of compensate for the resistance. And insulin is a fat storage hormone, and since our pancreas is pushing out a lot more insulin, we might be storing fat a lot easier than if we didn't have insulin resistance. So you can see how we have all these hormones, trying to counteract our weight loss. We've got hunger and fullness cues just way out of whack. Our metabolism is getting all adapted from, the chronic dieting, the intense exercise. And this is why our weight fluctuations are so drastic. We've got that yo-yo dieting cycle because we're constantly in a cycle of dieting, not dieting, hungry, not hungry, restricting, not restricting. It is just a lot. So I want to kind of talk about what can be done about this. This is a topic we're going to go way more in depth on in my program, The Nutrition Reboot, coming this fall. I'm only going to scratch the surface here because it is a very in-depth topic, but if you want to learn even more about weight loss, metabolism, healthy eating from the perspective of a dietitian like myself, I recommend signing up for the Nutrition Reboot, which you can do in the description below. There are 6 things you can do to help your metabolism get back up into tip-top shape. The first one you may have guessed already, and that is increasing your calories. Now, I recommend doing this very slowly and with the help of a registered dietitian, which again is where my program, The Nutrition Reboot, will come into play. But for the purpose of this video, I recommend doing about 100 to 200 calories more per month. I wouldn't go much faster than that because our metabolism cannot adapt that quickly, and then you will just put on excess weight if you are doing it too quickly. Now, a lot of people, when trying to increase their metabolism, will experience slight weight gain or at minimum weight maintenance. The goal is not going to be weight loss while trying to get your metabolism back into a higher rate, if you will. This takes time. Be patient. Again, I recommend working with a dietitian who can walk you through this and can make changes if they do feel like it's going too slow, but it is going to be slow. It takes a lot of time to fix all the damage that has been done from years of chronic dieting. All right, so along with increasing your calories, I also recommend reducing intense exercise. Now, I know what you're thinking. Everyone always thinks that weight loss is defined by eating less and moving more. But I actually am telling you, if you want to reach your set point weight and have a healthy metabolism, I recommend eating a little bit more and exercising a little bit less for a lot of people. eating as little as possible and working out as intensely as you can is not going to be effective long term, because as we've already determined, that is what is going to cause your metabolism to adapt. So with that intense exercise, as we kind of already said, it can lead to that increased cortisol, which can cause insulin resistance, and that can cause the pancreas to push out more insulin, and insulin can lead to that hunger and that fat storage. So what I recommend you do instead of just a lot of high intensity exercise or just hours of cardio is resistance training. Resistance training is vital to build muscle mass. And no, you're not going to get all big and bulky just by lifting some weights. If it was that easy, bodybuilding would not be a sport. But what happens when you do participate in just recreational resistance training is this tells our body to produce more muscle mass, and muscle mass uses a lot more calories than fat mass. So by having more muscle mass, you will automatically be needing more calories and increasing your metabolic rate. If you're not quite sure where to start with your resistance training journey, I do have an ebook, which I'll link below as well, that can help you get started for anyone at any level. Now, don't get me wrong, cardio is very important. That aerobic exercise does help our cardiovascular health, but it's not going to help much with our metabolism like incorporating more resistance training will. All right, next one is going to be to get more sleep. I recommend 7 to 9 hours a night. I know for myself personally, I cannot operate unless I get at least 8 hours of sleep. It is so important. I know I don't need to say this too much because everyone knows how important sleep is, but when it comes to finding your set point weight, it's even more important. And if you're sacrificing sleep to go to an Orange Theory workout where you're going to really just push your body to its limits, you're kind of trading nickels for dimes there. Like, it's just not really going to do much for you. Now, again, I think that there are a lot of good reasons to have that discipline and make your morning workout if you don't have time in the evenings. But what I am saying is that you need to make sure you're also getting your sleep along with that. All right, our next one is reducing stress. Again, this goes back to that cortisol response. And our body does view not getting enough sleep as stress, and it does view that intense exercise as stress. So I'm talking about other stressors you have in your life, such as work, relationships, those types of things. Do your best to focus on self-care. This really is going to benefit you in a lot of ways, even outside of, fixing your metabolism. Next one is stop doing those extremes where you either are in an insane diet where you're starving yourself, or you're on the opposite end of things where you're right fresh out of a diet and you're eating everything in sight. Really work on healing your relationship with food and with your body as well. We will be working on getting out of the all or nothing mindset in my program this fall. So if this is something you struggle with, I highly recommend joining us. Again, link is in the bio for that. It really is time to ditch the diets, learn how to eat in a sustainable, healthful way. And that's what I'm here for. All right, last one that's going to be very important for helping you improve your metabolism is making sure you get the nutrients you need. I'm not just talking about vitamins and minerals, but those are very important as well. Do make sure you're getting in all your fruits and veggies and whole grains and all of that. But I'm also talking about macronutrients, so making sure you're getting adequate protein, carbs, and healthy fats. Our body has different functions that require all those different nutrients. Getting rid of any of them is not going to benefit you. They all play very vital roles in our body. So doing keto is not going to help you. Got a whole video on the keto diet if you want to watch it. I really push for every single patient or every single client that I work with to get every nutrient in the right portions. And again, that's what I'm going to be teaching in my program this fall. Are you getting the theme here? That really is something I am very passionate about. So once you've mastered these steps, what you can expect from getting your metabolism back to a higher rate is being able to eat more food. When our metabolism is like tanking and adapts to that low calorie need, we can only eat that amount of calories. So by teaching our metabolism that doesn't need to be so efficient, that it can actually eat a lot more and use those calories for our body's vital functions, we get to eat a lot more food. So who doesn't love that? And improving your metabolism will also really help you tune into those hunger and those fullness and satisfaction cues as well. Because like I had said earlier, when we're in that chronic dieting state, our leptin and ghrelin, our hunger and fullness hormones, are all out of whack. And so we can't quite feel when we're actually feeling hungry, when we're actually feeling satisfied, and that can just be us feeling very uncontrolled around food. Again, I highly recommend working with a registered dietitian like myself if you do struggle with weight loss, and especially if you feel like you've been dieting for a long, long time and restricting your calories for a long, long time, because constantly just eating less and less and less is not going to benefit you in the long term. Yeah, you probably will lose weight if you're only eating 1,000 calories a day, but as we've already discussed, that's going to make your metabolism adapt to that low number, and it's going to be very difficult to sustain that weight loss. All right, thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. This was a highly requested one. I hope that it gave you some insight into what our metabolism actually is and the cause of it being slow or damaged or whatever else you want to call it. The good news is that if you have been chronically dieting or exercising way too intensely, we can undo the damage. It just will require some work and some patience. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment below on what videos you want to see next, and I will see you guys in the next video.